Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Roll the Dice with Dave. I just want to welcome everybody who is here on Facebook Live. I also want to welcome everybody who is watching on YouTube. Thank you so much for turning in. We have a great show tonight. Really excited about this one. Got three great young individuals who are looking forward to sharing their thoughts and ideas on the concept of canceling friendships or counseling friendships through hot button topics. But before we get started, I do want to remind you that if you are watching this and you do make any comments, please think about using the hashtag Roll the Dice with Dave. If you catch this on a replay, don't forget the hashtag replay so this way we can easily find the content later on. Don't forget to like and to share with friends. Facebook page, Roll the Dice with Dave. You could also find it on YouTube channel, Roll the Dice with Dave. So moving forward, if anybody is interested in being a guest, please make sure you mention that in the comments on the show. Also, feel free to email me at rollthedicewithdave@gmail.com. Always checking out the email, always looking for interesting topics, always looking for panelists to jump on. Also want to say a big hello to my daughter out in West Texas. Hey, Sadie, if you are watching, she was telling me earlier today that they're expecting snow possibly out in West Texas. And as a result of that, I'm just super happy I am here in Florida and not out in West Texas. So moving on, I am going to introduce the guests. So we are going to get introductions. First, I want to introduce our first guest, Rafael. Raf, if you don't mind introducing yourself to everybody out there today.
Hey guys, I'm Rafael Candelario. I am a student at Flagler College, and Professor Dave, or Dr. Dave Rivera, is my faculty advisor of my club BSA, which is Black Student Association.
Thank you so much. Glad you could be on the show. Next, I'm going to bring out Andre. Andre, if you can please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Andre McCorkle. I'm a recent graduate of Livingstone College in Salisbury, North Carolina. I know Dr. Rivera.
Blue Bears, yeah.
He was our advisor. He was our advisor of our whole hospitality program, and he was also my professor. I recently moved out here about a year ago to Oxnard, California. I'm a chef for 5 clients, and I manage the night audit at Hilton Properties here.
Cool. Thank you so much. And next, I want to bring up Sydney. Sydney, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Of course. Hi, I'm Sydney, and I'm a graduate student at East Carolina University, and I took Dr. Rivera for my introduction to hospitality class, and now he's my recommendation for doctorate programs. So, yeah.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that because if my memory serves me right, we had an interesting conversation one time in class about tattoos. And that kind of, I think, set off the whole conversation, how you got involved in that conversation. So,
yeah, because you had us stand up and raise our hands, and I was the last person with my hand raised.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I tell you what. So
that
I'm
was
glad
what started
it. Bringing a little bit of my past with my present, and looking forward to staying in contact with all of you in the future. Want to just say hey to my daughter Sadie, who said hi, Dad. Glad you are here. Also, my sister Josiah with a nice hashtag. I appreciate it. So just to make sure, some people said they were having trouble hearing me. I just made an adjustment on my mic. Hopefully, if you can hear me, if somebody can just give a thumbs up. Eric Newbill, I tell you what, Eric, it's great to see you. It is so awesome. I'm glad you're here. Go Pirates. Yes. Thank you for tuning in. And my man, Jordan Walker, also a Livingstone Blue Bear. Good to see you out here, Jordan. Jordan's doing big things. Great to see you. Jenny, another ECU pirate, has turned in, and she has just saying that she loves this. I'll tell you what, thank you so much for turning in. Allie Burkett, a friend of the hospitality program here, she has turned in. She says that she can hear me loud and clear. One of my past guests, Brian Murph, is in. Everybody can hear me now. Looks like we are all set. So I'm going to start. Let's go ahead and get into this conversation and get your guys' thoughts. But in your opinions, and Raf, I want to start with you. What do you think cancel culture is, and why do you think cancel culture is so big right now?
I think cancel culture is when somebody is publicly caught doing something instead of them doing something in private. So like if somebody like a celebrity, a white celebrity is caught saying the N-word and like somebody records it and then posted it, then everybody can see it. So that's why I believe it's so big. Just the fact that everybody sees like their true colors per se, and then that's what ends up with them getting canceled.
Okay. Dre, your thoughts on, hey, what do you think cancel culture is, and why do you think cancel culture is so big right now?
I think it's just because honestly, people honestly have a limit on how much they can take from certain other people. Like, I mean, you can only take so much before you're just tired of it. Like, you're just over it. And I'm speaking mainly for me, because that's one big for me, to where honestly, if I see you're doing the same thing, like you're having an attitude about the same thing, or you just looking at life with the same perspective and you're not doing it to try to fix it, or stuff like that, or, people try to help you and you just still not trying, that's, to me, that's time to get canceled. Like, it's time to get canceled, because they see that you're not willing to help progress yourself. And you're not willing to, and I feel like that's just toxic, and that could just rub off on people. So that would be canceled for me.
Okay. All right. Sydney, your thoughts on what is your viewpoints, or why do you think cancel culture exists, and what is your definition of cancel culture?
So I guess my definition would be a little bit different than there, because when I think of cancel versus council culture, I think about just an overall, not intolerance, but in a way intolerance, and just really it's a subjective form of boundaries. Like, where are your boundaries on what you think is acceptable, or what you're going to tolerate, or what you're not going to tolerate? And in this situation, are you going to counsel the person, or are you going to remove it from your life, or remove it from the situation?
Okay, so each one of you kind of hit on it, that
what that means.
At some point that's just it. Had enough, and I think all of us right now are seeing it just continue to grow and be pushed forward in a certain direction. I think cancel culture has evolved to what it is because, one, touching on what Raf said, we can see it now. But before, it was just kind of word of mouth. Hey, I heard. Now we have cameras. Everybody's got cameras on their phones. People actually are not even that shy. They're throwing this stuff on social media, just revealing who they are, just throwing this stuff out there. And also, I think people feel a lot more empowered now. So it's I don't have to worry about being seen the bad way if I tell somebody just get the hell out of my life because they feel a certain way. So my next question to each one of you, and I'll start with you, Dre, on this one. When do you give up? What is your point where you just say, that's it, I've given up and I can't deal with this anymore?
It takes a lot. Because I'm always like, if we cool, like, or even coworkers or something like that, like, I'll try my best. I've always tried to help. It's always been the Southern boy in me. And I guess, like, the point is when I just feel like I just see like you're just going to continue to just use this to try to just like keep the negativity and do all that. That's where I have to just cut it off. Or if I honestly, if I see that you are just choosing to remain that way, like if you're just literally choosing, like you just giving up all hope, like you're not even trying to get help no more. That's when I usually cut it off. Like that's when just right there, like that. Look, I see there's nothing else I can do for you. I see there's nothing else that I can help you progress because you're not trying to progress. Like you're not trying to progress yourself. And if you're not trying, then I don't see how I can help you.
Okay, so there's actually a comment that came out, and I think you can see it. I want to go ahead and blow this up on the screen before I get to the next two people. So Allie asks, how do you feel about cancel culture based on people's past actions? So an example is, if it was okay back then, but isn't okay now, should this person be canceled if they've evolved? So Dre, you just gave me an answer. I want to actually go ahead and jump. Sid, do you want to jump in on this? And then I'll go to you, Raf. So Sid, you can almost answer all this together. When have you reached that point? And also, do you want to touch on this past behavior versus now? At what point is it okay to cancel somebody?
I think that Yeah, I think that it's again very subjective. It's a situation by situation. If the person is willing to learn and change, then I think that totally changes the situation. But I think overall, what really plays a role is your own personal moral and ethics. And really, that I mean, that's what we guide our own lives by. But that's kind of where, at least when it's been too much, or when has it been, or when are you done, is when it's officially crossed the line of moral and ethical boundaries.
Okay. Ralph, you want to jump in on this real quick?
I think to answer Miss Allison's questions, I do believe that past experience should count, because I don't know if anybody else remembers, but I know Kevin Hart, he said something about the LGBTQ community and he was canceled for a little bit. And then to answer on your question, I would say honestly, I drop people like that. Like, I'm almost at the point where I have like no crews, no friends, because like I don't have the time for it. I just gotta focus on myself because I know where I want to be. It's just a waste of time for me.
Okay, so and I'm very similar, and I feel I get this from my dad. I'm not sure if my dad's watching tonight, but I feel I get it from my dad that there is an absolute cutoff point, and when you hit that cutoff point for certain topics, it's not a lot of leeway. It really isn't. It's a very short just chop right there. So touching on Allie's comment, I think it depends on what it is. Right. So you mentioned Kevin Hart, who apologized and was still canceled, even though he felt he was showing a level of evolution. Now, my issue with the Kevin Hart thing is that I feel that there were other individuals that were given some leeway based on past behaviors and were not canceled, but he was. Right. So he's been canceled by some people and then eventually came back. And for me, the cancel culture based on past behaviors, my level of tolerance depends on, is everybody being judged equally? And there are some individuals that I know who have said the same things Kevin Hart did, who were not canceled the way Kevin Hart was. And my perspective, some people may disagree, but my perspective had a lot to do with the fact that he was a black man in comedy, and they decided to go ahead and cancel him. Where I feel there were a lot of other individuals who were not black, who were given a pass, who were forgiven and said, hey, they deserve a second chance. Let's give them a second chance. That's my perspective on that, which ties a lot into other pieces. Allie, thank you for that. Before I move forward, I want to give a big shout out to Mike. Mike, I know you got a lot of stuff going on at ECU. You guys had that big planning, had everything going, and then the shutdown. I know you guys worked hard. I feel for you, brother, but hey, man, keep your head up. You're a great guy, and good things are going to happen for you and the ECU community. I know it. So getting back to the aspect of when do you give up, I want to touch on this first. Have any of you been canceled for your thoughts? And if you have been canceled, why were you canceled? What was the topic? So I want to start with Raf. I'll start with you. Have you been canceled, or are you the one always doing the canceling?
I don't think I've been canceled.
So you don't think you've been canceled? So you're not sure, but maybe haven't, but you don't think you have?
No.
Okay. We'll go Sid. Sid, have you been canceled?
Oh, I'm sure. I have a lot of opinions. I wouldn't know, to be honest, because that's, I don't know. I mean, I don't like press into those opinions very, very highly, but I would say definitely my Q community, anything going on right now seems to be canceled for me. From at least from my family, not really from friends, because I don't really associate with people that don't. I mean, honestly, that's just how it is I'm not really good friends with people that don't align with my ethic and moral, at least on those basic subjects. And to me, that's basic.
And to you, that's basic. Ralph was a no. So Dre, do you think you've been canceled?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so there's no doubt about it. You've been canceled.
There's no doubt.
You know why you've been canceled?
Yeah, I mean, because I've told you this a lot. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, but my mom moved me to a very southern town, Kings Mountain, North Carolina. Kings Mountain, North Carolina is racist. I do not care what you say. It is extremely racist. The most racist place I've ever been in my life. And
it originally was called End Mountain.
There you go.
It was called End Mountain. Yes.
So I mean, I can tell you, like, there was a time where my grandparents had to tell my dad, "Hey, don't come to Kings Mountain at this certain time of night." Back in the day, like, and this was the 1980s.
So it was a sundown town.
Like, they're still saying, like we can still tell you that there's tons of places that I do apologize. I live in an apartment complex, y'all. Like, it's extreme racist, and of course, I'm with the Black Lives Matter movement. So of course, like, people who I went to school with, people who I literally grew up with, like, I see them literally saying these things, and of course, because these are people who I've known in my life, I'm going to try to educate you, and I'm going to try to tell you, bro, listen how you sound. You sound like your grandfather, and I mean your great grandfather. You feel me? And it's because I tried to say that. I know for a fact I got that one message, bro. We just can't be friends if you're gonna see it as only Black Lives Matter. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel.
All right, so you've been canceled for that, and I have an example here in just a second. I want to get to some of these comments. Eric, just talking about the privilege, right? There's the privilege aspect tied to it. Mike, hey, always. I consider you a brother, man. Thank you so much also for the comment. He thinks it's a great discussion. My sister Sin jumping on. She loves the conversation. She agrees. And Dre, this is for you. She's giving a big shout out to Charlotte in the house. She lives in Charlotte. So she's giving you a shout out there. Allie also mentioned Boston might have that town beat, though, in the racist department.
Okay.
I tell you what, I love you, Allie. Yeah, I love you to death. So Allie and I met. She came to my class. She graduated from Flagler. She is an alcohol rep. But Allie keeps it real. She keeps it 100. I love having her on campus. She's great for the campus community. I really appreciate that. I said, listen, I truly believe you have a responsibility to protect your peace. And that comes sometimes that's an expense people pay for their peace of mind. They want to hold on to these relationships. So getting to my situation, I know I was canceled by somebody who I'd known for a really long time. They were bashing the Democratic Party. And I said, hey, if you're bashing the Democratic Party and politics in general, don't forget the other side of the coin is the Republican Party, right? When it comes to politics, you have both sides of the coin that have done things that have resulted in the situation we are now. And it's just my perspective that politicians as a whole don't care truly about us. He disagreed and goes, no, I'm talking about the debate issue. And I said, no, that's fine. I'm just talking about politics in general. And he told me that he felt sorry for me for viewing things that way because it's not really having an open mind. The fault is with the Democrats. So I replied to him, I said, I really feel sorry for you and anybody who associates with you who can't look at both sides of the argument. Students, other faculty, friends, if you can't look at both sides of the argument, I feel sorry for you. Cut me off, blocked me on all social media, unfriended my wife, just went through the gamut, just started chopping everything up. And this is somebody I thought was very open-minded. And to me now, it's a very closed-minded aspect there. But at the end of the day, I was like, oh, well, another one bites the dust. No, you know what I mean? No big deal. It's just life, just a different opinion. I didn't worry about it from that perspective. Now, I want to flip a little bit. So I asked, have you been canceled? Have any of you canceled someone? And if you have, if you can give me a specific example, Ralph, you're shaking your head yes, I'll go ahead and start with you.
So last week, I was with like a group of friends, and like I know they were all like, they're like big Trump fans and all that type of stuff. And like, I'm not going to jump into politics because I don't have time to really focus on that. But like, we were hanging out, and then like they just started saying the N-word. I was like, wait, what's going on? Because like they're all white. So I'm just sitting on the couch, and then I was like, yo, look, y'all got to chill out. And they were like, what's the big deal? Like, we're just saying it. And they kept on going. So I just ended up leaving the house, and now we don't talk.
All right, so you just canceled them right there. And I'll tell you what, I'm not a big fan of the word, even in music, not a big fan of it. But people throw it around like nothing now. Like it's just a everyday word. And I had to have an explanation. I gave somebody an explanation. They said, what's the big deal? I said, just say it out in public. And they couldn't. And I said, the fact that you can't tells you how inflammatory the word still is. So let me go ahead and a couple of quick comments and talking about good talk. My mom finally getting in, all right, with the technology, finally working her way in there. One of my old Little League players, hey, what's going on, Jonathan? Good to see you. And I got to give a big shout out to Christian Reeves. If you guys have not checked him out, this guy is amazing. He has a couple of shows out there. One of my favorites is Black Men Talk. It's on Facebook Live. And actually, I got the idea for this show on some of his content. The man is Dre, you're thinking about it? Yes, it was at Livingstone College.
Right,
that's how I met him. Yes, he was at Livingstone College. But I tell you what, he's a legit guy. He is a real dude, and anybody just looking to have some real good, solid, truthful conversations, he's definitely somebody that you want to follow. My sister, she's like, yes. I love this right here. So she goes, we can disagree on a lot of things and still be friends, but racism is not one of them. If my black and brown husband and children don't matter enough to you, you got to go, period. And it's one of those aspects. And this right here, what my sister put up, reminds me a lot about, I believe it was Tupac had in the song. He goes, just because you lost me as a friend doesn't mean I'm your enemy. It just means I still don't want you to go hungry, but I don't want you to eat at my table, right? So there's a lot of people that I've canceled. I don't want ill on them. I don't want them to have ill will, but they're not going to be sitting at my table. They're not going to be in my space. So let me jump to Sid real quick. Sid, have you canceled somebody, and why did you cancel them?
I would say really since the start of coronavirus, I have deleted so many people, but the big, I guess, vocal cancellation was when somebody was, I guess, kind of downplaying the death of George Floyd because he, had addiction problems and had a criminal background, and I just kind of blanked on them. And
oh, we froze. Did we lose her? Okay.
oh, I'm still here.
No,
I can
we're
see
good.
you.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Oh, okay. But basically, I'm not very vocal about the canceling anymore. I just do it without explanation. Okay. But that was kind of my last vocal link.
Okay, so you have canceled. And Dre, so we got Ralph's story, we got Sid's story. Dre, that look on your face tells me that you've canceled many of people just from that look. Can you give us one example?
I recently stopped working for a dispensary out here in Port Hueneme, California. It was a cool place. I really honestly loved it. It was cool. But it seemed like a lot of people had a lot of opinions and discussions they wanted to always have about, Black Lives Matter and all this. And the only thing that just struck me funny was I was the only Black person working there. That's the only thing that just struck me funny the whole time. And I left because, yes, I found another job and I got a promotion at the job that I'm at now at the hotel. But it was always something. But then, honestly, I heard one coworker say, he was like, it's crazy that the unemployment rate went up, but it's so high in African Americans. And I was like, what did you say? I was like,
oh, man. Okay.
I was like, what? I was like, for real? So, of course, we reported it. And then, from what I understand, it was absolutely nothing happened. So, I literally canceled that person, and I had to cancel that whole job because it was just, that was where I was like, I'm out. I gotta go before I have to smoke somebody in here.
And I could see where you're coming. It's tough when it's in a job too, right? Because then you feel, hey, I'm working here for my livelihood, but I just can't every day come and deal with this BS. So I've canceled people, and actually I've gone to the point where I've told people while I'm canceling. So I've actually said, hey, this is why I'm canceling you. This is why we're not going to interact anymore. So this will be the last time I expect to see a message from you. Please don't contact me again if you're going to still feel this way, because I feel your viewpoint goes against all my morals and my beliefs and my ethics. And some people have received it well, some not so much, because, of course, their argument is always the polar opposite. And I'm okay with that. Every time I go through it, one of the things I've noticed is I feel a lot lighter. The shoulders feel lighter as far as the burden of the relationship. It feels a lot lighter because you're not worrying about those aspects. A couple of more comments came in. Christian said he's humbled, but I tell you what, you are definitely the man out there. I love it. My sister, she's like, word. And I like this. So what about when it's at church? So I will say this. I haven't been stepping foot in the building of a church, but I've found that my spirituality and my connection with God is actually stronger. And I say this in that I feel I am not surrounded, at least from my perspective. And this isn't, I don't want people to think this is just the overall this is my perspective. I feel that there a lot of times there's just so much distraction at church that people are not truly focusing in on the reason they should be there. I notice a lot of times when I'm at church, people are sitting there and they're doing their checkbook, they're texting, they're sleeping, they're not paying attention to what's really going on. And I found that since this COVID and there are limited numbers that can go to our church, and I'm at home, I found my relationship with God and also all the family members that have died in my family. I feel I even have a better relationship in their passing through this, because I find myself just sitting and talking to them more and sitting and talking to God more than I ever did, because I think the mentality was you go to church on Sunday, there's your church time, and you almost forget about it the rest of the week. Here comes Sunday again, you're back at it. Now I make it pretty much a part of my everyday life, where I'm at work, sitting in my office, I'll think about, thank you, God, for giving me. Thank you, I didn't lose my job. Thank you, my wife didn't lose her job. Thank you that we're all healthy. And I look at it in a much different perspective. Do any of you want to give your quick thoughts on church before we give another aspect as far as canceling somebody that is at church? And I'm going to put up the comment from my sister.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah. Ooh, man. But you know what, Sin? I feel that's common in a lot of churches. I feel people have left the Catholic Church as a result of it, saying something. And the shame of it is, I think sometimes the individuals who are leading church services tend to forget that they are still human. They're still fallible. They're still just people. And they are actually not godlike. And I think sometimes they get that confused. Just my 2 cents for whatever it's worth. Anyway, you guys want to give your thoughts on that?
I think for me, because I'm Afro-Hispanic and a lot of my family is straight Hispanic, a lot of them, like within the Catholic Church, don't really associate, like they don't really see the problems that Black individuals have because they're just racist. So a lot of my family members that were in those churches have left and gone to new churches because Catholic churches have been looking down upon them. Like they associate every Black problem that's going on right now with them, and they just see them as the evil.
And just to throw this comment, I love it. Murph said, "Hey, Sin, some of the biggest hypocrites ever," and we see that sometimes there. I love it. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Preach, Dave. I appreciate that. Anyone else? Sin, Dre, you want to give your thoughts on the church aspect tied to it?
I personally don't go to church for multiple reasons.
No, that's all good.
I don't really talk religion. I don't do religion. I'm cool on that.
I don't go to church either, but I agree with you with I've become like increasingly more spiritual with the amount of time because of quarantine that I feel like I do sit and talk to. I mean, this is a very like side note, but I do exactly what you said. Like I've been talking to God and like my family more than I ever did before. And definitely, I mean, I never been to church, so.
No, and you know what's crazy, and I'm going to add this because some people, because we're talking about canceling someone, I'm sure there's somebody who is sitting out there who may have even canceled you guys because you decided not to step in this building, right? And I just find it so foreign, the idea of I want to be a good person, I want to love everybody, but you're doing this aspect or the other, and we're going to cancel from there. But again, like my sister said, there's just some things that people feel they can't bend. I don't agree with it. I understand where they're coming from, but I don't agree with it. Does that make sense? So we have a couple of other comments before we move through it. So Sin just threw out a little love your neighbor. Dang. Allie has thrown out. I keep hitting. Oh, she keeps hitting send before she finishes up. But she feels bad from the aspect of, do you think all of this will make us more forgiving as far as the aspect of COVID from the canceler culture? So do you guys want to touch on that before we move to the next topic? Do you think people at the end of this will come out better and be a little bit more of the counsel and understanding? No. Or you think the people are just going to be quicker to cancel individuals?
No, no, cancel season.
Dre, you feel people will be more cancel?
It's cancel season. Like, bro, it's past the point of cancel season now. Literally, I'm sorry, this has been a worse year. Literally, from the presidential debate, from the Black Lives Matters, going from the churches, going from the LGBT community. I mean, I'm gonna just say there's a reason why I left the East Coast and I'm not going back. I'm absolutely not going back. There's an absolute reason why I left and I'm not going back. But
I will say this, Dre, I'm glad you're out west because that gives me a place to stay when I go visit.
Hey, just make sure you stay at a Hilton.
Okay. Got to keep you employed, right?
Okay.
Raf, Sid, either you want to jump in. Do you think people are going to be more forgiving after? You think we're just going to continue to move down that the cancellation culture road?
I pray people are less forgiving. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
I was just going to say, I pray people are less forgiving because, like, you can't be forgiving this stuff. Like, people have to get consequences for their actions. And, like, if you keep forgiving them, they're just going to keep on doing it.
All right. So, from your perspective, holding some of them accountable, Sid?
Well, I was just going to say that I think that being in isolation and being behind the screen has made it a lot easier to cancel people. I mean, definitely on social media, but I mean, really cancel anything when you're isolated, and really the only form of the outside world is your phone, and you can really manipulate that.
Okay. I put this up again. Mike, man, I love you, man. You and I go way back to the ECU days. He's big on energy. And I will say this, Mike, you always gave good energy when you were in my classes and just walking around. I love your viewpoint on this. If someone's viewpoint, posts, actions, ignorance, negativity affects my energy and my push to better myself, my family's lives, and efforts to help all I can, cancel AF. So, and I can relate, especially when, I'm married, I have kids, and I want to do the best I can for them and also for myself. Jumping into Allie's post, I'm sorry that was their experience in the Catholic Church. My mom threw up this out here. You don't have to go to church to do one-on-one with God. This is mom. So she's using my dad's account. And it's true. You have that aspect there. And I like this because Mike also added on, other opinions are welcome, but there's a line that can be crossed for sure. I've seen a lot of people throwing up, on Facebook, and it's a dude holding a sign that says, "We can disagree and still be friends." And I could agree with that. Hold on. As long as the disagreement is hamburgers or hot dogs, right? I like hamburgers, you like hot dogs. That's a disagreement we can get around. Who's the greatest quarterback of all time? You may say Tom Brady. I may say Joe Montana. We can disagree about that. But when it comes to aspects, I think, of equality, human rights, just treating everybody equally. And this makes me think of my brother. Jamie Jenkins has said this. And he was talking about the aspect of people really need to be glad that a certain portion of the community is just wanting equality and is not seeking vengeance for all the inequalities, right? Because then this would really be something super insane. They just want to be treated equally. And when he said that, I was like, you're 100% right, because vengeance is just blind anger. With the aspect of equality, you have many people really speaking on things eloquently, formulating their arguments, and still being dismissed, still being seen as what you're saying doesn't make any sense. And that's the negative. There's a lot of people just putting all kinds of stuff. So Kimberly Harrison, she said, yes, Dre. She likes the the quote aspect there. No more forgiving, time to cancel. Allie, we forgive you for your fat finger. She says she keeps typing and putting in all the wrong stuff. Let's see. Quicker. People are more emboldened now. And this makes me think of the Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was in an interview, and he said the problem is people can go to social media and not get punched in the face for their words. And that's Mike Tyson who said that. Because he talked about a time, and I remember when I was a kid, you didn't have social media. So if you said something, sometimes you got your butt whooped. And it really brought things back into balance. Right? So it made that quote makes me think of when Mike Tyson said that about people. Here are some other things. Honestly, even hate that it's called canceling. And I agree with you on this. It minimizes the true conviction behind your decision to excuse yourself from someone's gross words and actions. That is so well put. That is so well said. Thank you for that. Mike, another comment, spot on, bro. And then you have right on, Mike, if it doesn't grow my faith, family, and future, it's got to go. A straight up no. And a lot of people are mentioning that. Quit cherry picking the Bible to make yourself feel better about your opinion. And there's a lot of that. People will pick and choose the things that they like and that they want to help support their narrative. All right, so go ahead, Dre.
I'm sorry. On what you said, because I just recently saw a post. It said there's a lot of people who got scripture in their mouth, but don't got the scripture in their heart, but just got tons of hate in their heart. So it's that's why the whole church thing. And I'm saying that because my dad's a pastor. Like my dad is a pastor. Like, and top of that, my whole family is deacons, preachers, and everything. And then like they're really strong with the Bible. The stuff that I have heard, the stuff that's been said to me, I'm like, hot dang. Like, yeah. But I mean that's just my thing on the scripture and the Bible,
the scripture thing
and everything. Because it's you're using the scripture for the wrong reason. But I ain't even religious, so I'm gonna leave that alone. That's not me.
All right. And yes, I do agree with that aspect. I love it. Yes.
Honestly, this just reminds me of, I don't know like the exact quote, but like all opinions are welcome until it hurts somebody else or it disrespects somebody else or whatever. I mean, I will accept all opinions, but an opinion that directly impacts somebody that I care about, or not even somebody I care, just anybody, is not really an opinion. I don't even know what it is. It's just, I mean, hate or bias or discrimination.
Yeah, and it, what you said is so spot on, Sid. I may think, hey, it's just my opinion. How hurtful can this be? But it can be very hurtful to somebody. I also like this, and we'll start getting to speak on some specifics. But Eric talks about I'm so tired of social media strength, and it's true. So many people look to social media as quote unquote their official news outlet. And I also so I'm going to throw this up. Strength, say it to my face, then we can have a real discussion. Eric, honestly, people are probably not going to do that, bro. I love you to death, and I feel like you and I, Eric, we met at ECU. You and I can sit down and have a great conversation because we're people. I think the problem is when you get a lot of people involved and they start to develop that mob mentality, and then they kind of block everything out. Because in the short time before I left ECU, where I got to know you, I was like, man, this guy is so legit, and I value your thoughts and your opinions. You are definitely one of the most straight up guys I have ever met. So thank you so much for chiming in. We got a little love to Titi, and I want to throw this one up. My wife just posted this. I believe church is the people more than the building. The people with similar beliefs about God and loving others. If you are having issue with the minister, priest, that is a person, not the beliefs of the faith. This is why people change churches or buildings. But I do feel that joining together weekly with other people that have the same love of God help you remember He is the one constant in your life that is good. And baby, I do agree with that 100%. I'm getting that some of you have had bad experience with faith or a leader, and some people have, and it's easy for people to get turned off if you have a bad leader. It would be the equivalent of somebody going to a school and having a bad experience with one professor and they're turned off by the entire experience. And the crazy thing is that my wife is very true. And And with the church, a lot of times it's that one face, right? There's usually not 7, 8, 10, 12, 15 faces. It's that one face that could easily turn off. Thank you so much, babe, for putting that up. Mike, I love, he's like fearless with them Twitter fingers. Yeah, a lot of people are. My mom, yes, yes, yes. Eric, we need more face-to-face conversations. And my homegirl from way back in the day at ECU, opinion is the medium between knowledge and ignorance. Plato, I love it. That is a great quote. Thank you so much, Amber, for that quote. Now we're going to get into a little bit more specifics. So the first topic that I want to bring up is my man Colin Kaepernick. There's a lot of people that don't agree with the movement, still don't agree with the movement. What are your guys' thoughts on, do you cancel people depending on their look, or do you continuously try to counsel people based on the Colin Kaepernick situation? And anybody can jump in. Yeah. So you're saying they got to go, right?
Bro, you're not going to the football game for the national anthem, bro. What does it matter? Like, what does it matter? You're not going there for the national anthem. You're going there to see if this team or that team gonna win. If you put money on it, you're trying to go there to win some money. If you want to go there to drink some beer and chill with your people, that's what you're going there for. You're not going there for the national anthem. Like, stop trying to make this about nothing. This is just an African-American man doing a peaceful protest, and y'all are mad because he's doing it during the national anthem. Okay.
Well, here's the crazy thing. So to touch on that, like I mentioned earlier, I've been to ball games and people are playing on their pphones. People are walking, they're talking, and ignoring the
you have
anthem,
your hats
right?
on. You have your hats on. Like, everything else, like, you're still, like, I don't see how y'all are not mad at that, but you're mad at someone who is doing a peaceful protest, all because he is choosing not to participate, in the national anthem. And at this point, you went through the whole thing of you burned all those Nike products for what? You saying you lost? What do you know, hey, don't the Navy, don't they sponsor the Navy? Like, they make straight Navy material, straight Navy everything. Like, regardless, y'all, Nike's gonna be okay. Like, they're gonna be fine. Like, they're gonna be absolutely okay. But y'all literally took the time to burn all those materials when you could have donated to so many people who could have used that stuff. But you decided to burn it, just say, oh, you're protesting Nike because they're still gonna sponsor Colin Kaepernick. Just
I never quite understood, and again, like, I mean, I understand it because I'm, I can read an article, but I always thought that, like, this form of protesting was not just peaceful, but it was almost respectful. I mean, he wasn't sitting there talking to his teammates during the national anthem. He was kneeling. It's almost like I felt like a respectful way of getting a point across, and in a national spotlight. So I never understood any of the uproar with that, but especially not with it being disrespectful, because I feel like kneeling is the most respectful thing you could do.
Yeah, and
I don't know.
I agree with you there. Raf,
I think I've had much conversation about the Kaepernick thing besides with my dad. And my dad has been a Marine for about 26 years, and he's like for the service, right? And he's completely with Kaepernick. So I don't really see the problem with people hating on, like, I don't see why people hate against Kaepernick. It's not like he was like facing away or like talking. Like Sydney said, he was respectful during the, like,
he was actually looking at the flag while he was, yeah. And I've reached the point, I'm going to keep it short and sweet, that people who continuously go on the opposite side, I've just really decided to cancel. And the reason is people can't get my viewpoint on it. Now, I myself am not one who is going to kneel during the national anthem. I'll stand, but I'm going to stand next to Kaepernick. And if somebody tries to infringe on his right to kneel, then they're going to be fighting the both of us. And it's like people can't get that. It's like they can't absorb it. So I've reached the point where, okay, think what you think, that's cool, but you know what? Let's go ahead and I'm going to Heisman that one, right, and push it on. So the next topic is thoughts on Confederate monuments, because we have that going on now here in St. Augustine. So do you cancel or do you counsel people that have the opposite viewpoint as you on Confederate monuments?
I'm going to counsel. I want to counsel them. Counsel all of them. Like, before, I mean, it's going to come to a point where I'm going to cancel you, of course, if you don't try to learn, but I'm going to counsel you first, bro, because I understand, like, how,
you were raised growing up is a huge part of your life. It really is. And that could be if you was raised on the, oh, we have a Confederate flag, we're gonna keep it. We love the Confederate monuments, and because they really might not know what they about. Because again, in Kings Mountain, it's not taught. I didn't learn about all the African American history till I hit Livingstone College, for real. And I say counsel first. Try to get their point across, because I have counseled some of my friends on there, and they have honestly apologized. They was like, bro, we never knew that. We never understood. I always said, bro, just go look up the documentary Hidden Colors. Look up all the volumes. And they looked it up, gave it a try. And I've had some friends agree, and then I've had some friends who haven't agreed with it yet. But we get there. I say counsel.
So you said try to counsel and then cancel. Raf and then Sid. So Raf, cancel or counsel on the Confederate monuments?
For me, I think this is a problem because, like, I'm probably the only black friend that I have that thinks this, but, like, I don't really see the Confederate monuments as a problem because, like, it's history. And once you take it down, people are going to forget. And that's what we don't need to happen. We don't need the people to happen, like, to forget what happened in the past. Like, it happened. But then I also see, like, we don't want to leave it up so people can, like, embrace and, like, what they did in the past. I don't know.
So I want to kind of mention something. So I had a buddy who had that same viewpoint, who said, hey, we're going to forget. And I said, hey, do we forget Hitler existed? You know, we don't have monuments to Hitler, and we haven't forgotten about Hitler, right? But then I also threw out, we have the monuments. I said, you know what? Let's say we decide to keep them, and they're going to have the monument there. Can we put the truth on the other side, right? So we have the one side that's celebrating, hey, the Confederacy. Well, let's go ahead and put the truth on the other side and what the Confederacy really wanted and stood for. Because I think the same thing should happen with Christopher Columbus. I'm also okay with, let's speak a little truth about what George Washington was really about. Because George Washington did have slaves. His teeth weren't wooden. His teeth were actually the teeth of his slaves. So if we're going to celebrate the good, let's also recognize. Yeah, so you didn't know that? He didn't have wooden bench. Yeah, he didn't have wooden teeth. He would all actually get the teeth of his slaves, and that's what he would use for his fake teeth. It wasn't wooden teeth. So a lot of people don't want to talk about that, and I'm okay with it. Okay, George Washington did all this stuff. I'm okay with that. But let's recognize, you know what I mean? There's two sides to that coin. There are two sides to the coin. Just to get to Sid, make sure I don't forget about you. Cancel or counsel Confederate monuments?
Well, I think that this kind of goes hand in hand with the question before, which is all opinions are welcome, except for this isn't an opinion, because this is hurting other people. People are upset by it. Then why does it taken down? I mean, to me, it's that simple, because it's not like it's an opinion on, do you like hot dogs or hamburgers? It's, if somebody's offended by this and it's offensive history, then why is it a question?
No, and
to me,
I tell you what, man,
opinion,
this has sparked all kinds of comments. So my man Eric threw up. I love how he mentioned the Kaepernick thing, but then you have somebody bringing an assault weapon, threatening. Right. Jamie mentioned, and this is true, Kaepernick referred to a retired Green Beret before he moved forward with this protest. So he got counsel from a military vet. Another comment that came up, it's our responsibility to educate people on something they should be educating themselves on. So
that's
there's
not fair,
the counsel aspect.
That's not fair, though. I'm sorry, Miss Sydney. Miss Jenkins. That's not fair, ma'am. Because again, literally in Kings Mountain, African American history is not taught. It's not taught. It's really it's straight European. It's straight European, and honestly, even some German history. This was confusing. But
so Dre, you're just to make sure I'm getting this clear. You're saying, hey, it is partly our responsibility to educate. But I think what Cindy is also mentioning, and Cindy, I don't want to speak for you, so if you want to go ahead and mention the comment, I think Cindy is saying, people really should educate themselves. If people really care about learning, they should be, because how else did I learn about George Washington and slave teeth? Yeah, but they didn't teach me that in school. I taught myself that because I want to learn more about the aspect of it. And I think that's the essence of the comment.
Yeah, no, Again, I understand, but I'm saying, like, you at least gotta, you gotta start it off. Like, you gotta at least put them in the right direction. Like, you just,
I understand you saying like, oh, educate themselves, but I mean, sometimes it goes back on the how they were raised.
Okay, yeah.
That's already how they know. Like that's already what they know. Of course, they're not going to research that because how you going to research something you don't even know about? Just like I'm definitely about to go research that George Washington and teeth thing, but
Yeah.
because I did
Go check it out, man. I'm telling you.
I know that. Like,
Yeah, there's a lot of things,
you have to educate them. You have to at least start the education process on, yo, bro, this was some extremely racist stuff. If you don't understand it, here's a link to it. You know, here's a book to it. Here's a video to it, and it will tell you on how I can tell you some personal experiences on some real stuff, but on how like it's racist, bro. And then like, that'll get it going.
And you know, to kind of get to that, always tell people, hey, go check it out. If I say something, hey, go check it out. So slaves counted as 3/5. The reason they started counting them as 3/5 was to increase the number of votes that counted in the South to try and push their agenda. They didn't care about giving slaves any kind of count. They didn't even see them as human beings. So they counted them as 3/5. So then they got slaves to vote as 3/5 to try and push the initiative of the count so they can see things their way. It's out there. The research is out there. Go check it out, man. So we have another comment. Move them to museums. Let's make it more about education. Samantha, oh man, it's so great to see your quote. Samantha was another student at ECU. I love it. Education. It comes down to education. Grew up in upstate New York, a long way from NYC. So many people here have never experienced either side of racism because we haven't seen it. So, you know, where she's getting at into the aspect, they just don't understand white privilege because they don't understand how lucky they are to live somewhere that people are respected no matter what. So, you know, that is a big piece. And again, I experienced an aspect of racism when I went down south, not having experienced so much in New York City. Then I go down south and people are like, are you black or white? And I'm like, I'm neither. I'm Puerto Rican. And they're like, what's a Puerto Rican? You're either black or white. And I'm like, I'm neither. I'm Puerto Rican. And then even at the post office, I'm mailing something back to my family at home, and they tell me that Puerto Rico is not part of the United States. I have to pay international rates. And I'm like, no, it's part of the United States. And the lady was insistent. She was at the post office telling me that it was not. So, you know, I get where Sam is coming from with that. Cindy, yep, to that part. Let's see, totally agree that these truths to be put in the history books. We have an exactly, again, tied to the Confederate monuments. So I think everybody answered on the Confederate monument piece. Did I skip anybody? All of you have answered. All right. So I'm going to jump to the next, and we'll start moving through these a little bit quicker. So if you can just tell me cancel or counsel before we, I don't want to go too long because we'll be here forever. We'll be here all night. So let's look at the next one. Political difference. Do we cancel or counsel? Sid, I'll start with you.
Cancel.
Cancel.
That's
all right.
Big, hard cancel.
Cancel. Hard cancel. Raf, cancel or counsel?
I'm not into politics yet.
All right. So you're going to abstain. Dre, cancel or counsel?
Oh, always counsel. Counsel.
Okay. So you're starting with the counsel, and I will go there at first. Try to counsel, but my threshold for the counsel is a lot shorter when it comes to a political state. Yeah, it's like that. It's very tiny. Going into the next one, Black Lives Matter. We will start with you, Raf. Cancel or counsel?
Cancel.
Cancel. Dre, are we going to cancel or counsel?
It's cancel, and you getting these hands.
So you're going to cancel and give hands? Sid, cancel or counsel? I'm sorry. I lost you there for a second.
I'm done counseling, so I guess just cancel.
You're going to cancel? All right. So you're done with the counsel. Done with the counseling. And I'm just going to say it so everybody can hear it. I have no problem with my feelings. I feel that all lives cannot matter until Black Lives Matter. Period. End of discussion. So that's just how I feel about it. Police brutality. And I do want to add this little caveat, the idea of police brutality. My father was a law enforcement officer for almost 30 years in New York City. So many people like to throw the claim out there, you don't know unless you've done it. That is true. I have never done it, but I do believe I can refer to an expert at any given point in time. And many of the things going on, my dad is like, why is that happening? Don't get why they do that. I was never trained that way, never trained anybody that way. So cancel or counsel people who seem to be finding reasons to justify police brutality. And we'll go with you first, Sid. Cancel or counsel?
I would say cancel and wonder if they're mentally okay.
Okay, so offer mental help. All right. Next, we'll go with you, Graf, the cancel or counsel. Cancel and Dre. Canceling. All right. I want to jump to, let me go ahead and run through a couple of these. So here we have, wow, people are so clueless about their own incredible. Yes, I couldn't believe it when I was at the post office either. Next one this year, cancel. I'm tired of how long we've been counseling. And yeah, a lot of counseling definitely has been going on. Let me throw this one up here. Sounds like Puerto Rico's absentee mail-in ballots may be canceled. Wow, USPS, shake it. Mike, I love you, brother. I tell you what, I think that's the quote of the night right there, man. I think that's the quote of the night. Boom shakalaka. Cancel and put them on blast. And my mother is definitely laughing out loud on this one. All right. So the last thing I want to touch on, because I really like where you go at with this, Sid, and I want to go to you first with this. Other areas we want to talk about. I just want you to talk about a little bit of what you and I have talked about, this canceling or counseling in the area that you look at. Sid? If you can talk, talk a little bit about your area.
Sorry, I didn't hear the last part. Yeah. So when I first saw this subject, I kind of immediately went to my professional experience in the industry. I come from hotel management, and so when I see counseling, I really thought about my employees and kind of what my research is kind of going towards right now, which is really about, the prevalence of addiction and managing based on with addiction based on their recovery, and it being very subjective and people based, and then that kind of has just kind of snowballed into an overall society recidivism mission, and giving people second chances when they are incarcerated and a returning citizen, in the hiring processes of in hospitality with your employees, and kind of where that line is to cancel before ultimately giving up on somebody.
Okay, and
if that makes sense.
No, it does, and I like where you're at, because that is a big thing, that the idea of we're supposed to be a society who tries to push the idea of, hey, let's look out for our fellow man, but then the first chance we get, if there's an issue with addiction, or they've had any kind of troubles in life, been incarcerated, sometimes unjustly incarcerated, we're just cutting people off. So I like your take on it, and that's why I wanted to give you a chance to address this. Yeah, Dre.
When you was talking about, it broke up a little bit, but I know I heard addiction when you were talking about, like, if you want to give them attention with addiction. My district general manager is right now, I want to say 28 years sober. She was a huge, back in the day, addict, and then she was able to recover, and she said when she got this job, she was still in recovery, and she's worked here just for that long, and now she's a district manager. And to this day, she still goes to meetings, she still does stuff to help her stay recovered and everything. And I would say,
and that's kind of the research I want to do, is based on how to create an environment where we are counseling people that are, adverse, or, at a disadvantage, and how do we, manage as an industry to, really reduce, in this case, recidivism, or really just, making everybody productive in society and giving them a purpose.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I just wanted to give you a chance to touch on that platform. As we wrap up, I want to give each of you a chance to give your final thoughts. After you give your final thought, I'm going to slide you out of the broadcast studio, so this way we can focus just on the aspects of getting ready to wrap this up. I will start with you, Raf, if you want to give your final thoughts on the cancel or council discussion we had tonight.
I just want to say thank you for having me on the show. I don't really have any extra thoughts. I would say I probably do need to work on, I don't know, I just have like a lack of care for individuals that aren't like doing what's right. So I just cancel them right away. But I guess, I don't know, I can try to be a better person and counsel them, but that's a lot of time. But anyways, thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, no. And I want to add this because you and I have had a chance to interact a little bit. You just mentioned, maybe I need to be a better person, man. You're awesome. And the fact that you could be truthful to yourself about, man, I just don't have time for this, man. There's more important things that I'm worrying about. I think is just as important to the mental health aspect as anything else. So, oh man, where'd Sid go? Lost her. Hopefully she can jump back in. All right. But thank you for your time. I really appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you on campus, brother.
Yes, sir.
Dre, your thoughts, final thoughts.
As you said last video, I mean, thank you so much for having me on the show. Like, it was really fun being able to get to have this conversation with you and get to able to see you again, sir. But my final thoughts on it is I agree with him. Like, I'm big on the counseling. I'm really only on counseling when it comes to the history part of it, because I feel like everyone needs to know that because they don't know it. But with everything else now, it's like, okay, I mean, it's last time you saw me, so, well, last time you heard from me. And also, I wanted to also say, like, basically on the drug addiction thing too, I recently completely cut somebody off because we were still in the process of getting him, and then I figured out, like, he decided to do everything else again. And I just recently cut somebody off for that. And so on that,
sometimes it's gotta happen.
Like I said, it's canceling season. Like, it's complete cancel season. Like, it's done. But again, thank you so much, Sid. It was really nice to meet you. Everyone, thank you so much for the comments. I hope y'all have a great night.
Hey, Dre, thank you so much. And I tell you what, please stay in touch, man. Okay. Looking forward to our next talk because we're definitely going to set one up for you. I'll be in touch. All right. Sid, your final thoughts.
So pretty simple, which is just to, if your opinion doesn't respect everybody, then keep it moving and cancel it. But I like the whole energy thing. I'm a big energy person. So if your energy is setting mine off, then it's got to be black and white, not shades of gray anymore.
No, I like black and white, no more shades of gray. Sid, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciated your insights. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a good night. And again, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
All right. So as we get ready to wrap things up, I just want to throw up some comments. So we had Samantha threw up there at Cornell. We just took these questions off of our applications 2 years ago. Yeah. Why even have them? Mike, I love how he points out, you got to vet them a little bit better. I think it was Chris Rock who said, some jobs, everybody's got to be good. So this is kind of one of those aspects that you really should strive for 100% goodness when it comes to these positions. Mike, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate your thoughts and insights. Keeping you in my thoughts and prayers, and go Pirates, my man. I love it. My sister says, got to protect your peace. It's true. Your peace of mind is so important. Google it. What is being a racist? Go check it out. Cindy throwing that out there. I love it. My mom mentioning, thank you so much for your input. God bless you all for the work you are doing and the impact you are making in these times. Thank you so much for those words, Mom. And I love it. My Titi says, some people can't be giving counseling. They have a closed mind and you can't open it up. And that is so true. And there are a lot of people like that. They're just so caught up and so dead set in their ways. And the counseling, the open-mindedness does go both ways. But at some point, I agree, just gotta cut it. And the last comment of the evening, Sid, you're lovely. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. Love the conversation. Thank you all for bringing this to the forefront. So thank you all for coming. And I do want to bring this out. So next week, I'm going to be speaking with St. Augustine City Commission C2 candidate, Barbara Blonder. She's a faculty member at Flagler, and she is addressing issues of environmental justice. Those of you that live in areas where the environment may not be on the forefront. So specifically areas I'm thinking about, I have family in Myrtle Beach and what they do to try and protect the environment. What goes on here in St. Augustine to try and help the environment, just to protect those around it. That's what we're going to be talking about next week, as well as just some other issues. I wanted to give her a platform to speak, and I'm really excited to have her on the show. Hopefully you guys can join us next week in this conversation. Again, as I wrap up, I just want to thank you all for joining us tonight. I hope you all have a good night, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.